Greetings Exiles and welcome to yet another build guide. Do you want to play a minion build that's not zombies? Do you like huge damage and survivability? Are you interested in a build that smashes all content while you focus more and more on defense? Then the Herald of Purity Guardian might just be the build you are looking for. First of all, this is a path of building assisted build. So if you don't know how to use the program, I got a video linked in the video description together with some timestamps. All footage you can see in the video is at Awakening level 8 on tier 14 or higher maps and boss encounters. Something unusual that's going on in this build is that your damage doesn't really scale with your gear, but your defense does. Meaning that even with the bare minimum gear, your minions will hit like a truck, and the higher content you play, you will get more and more toughness with your gear. At one point when I was playing the build, I made the decision to, instead of stacking up to like 9000 life, I went for huge regen and I hit 30% of my life per second. I also never got one shot, except for when tanking Awakener beams, so all my deaths were on me just stupidly face tanking multiple mechanics. The Purity minions usually one-shot mobs and need just 2, 3, sometimes maybe 4 seconds to kill tough rare mobs if they can't reach it. The single target damage in this build is huge, especially if there is no other target around, so all minions will focus the same enemy. But, as always, the strong damage and defense comes at a price. Your map clear is just meh. Since your minions sometimes skip packs, then they run backwards to kill the skipped ones, and then they have to catch up again. Also, if you don't like an active playstyle, then this is not for you, because you have to make sure your Herald minions are always active. For this, you either have to hit a rare or unique enemy with an ability, or kill something with your own abilities. The general playstyle itself is quite easy, but can get annoying at some times. In most situations, you have to shoot your Unearth into a pack, Herald minions spawn, and then you move on. If you are only fighting tough mobs, you need to use your Stormbrand as well in order to proc the minions. This is extremely important because otherwise you won't be able to spawn the Herald Sentinels. You also want to keep up Flash Offering. That's a strong damage and speed buff to your minions. You need corpses for that, so you can simply cast your Unearth and then Flash Offering. If the situation allows it, use Vigilant Strike to gain the Fortify buff for yourself. Quick note here, you can also use the jewel called the Vigil in the passive tree, so your minions would get the Fortify as well. I didn't use that, but you should keep that in mind if your Spectres or Animate Guardian are close to dying in some situations. Before you reach the endgame and the big bosses, you have to level up your character first, obviously. This can get kinda annoying on the build. I suggest you try zombies and skeletons until you have a falling ready for your Herald of Purity, as well as the sockets to use any strong spell skill to kill enemies for spawning the Sentinels. I personally went for a Stormbrand setup to do that, which you can find within the PoE. In the Bandit quest in Act 2, kill all. The 2 passive points are huge and there's no other real option. Maybe Oak, but the 2 passives are stronger in most situations. As Ascendancy Progression, I went Radiant Crusade first. Damage, movement speed and resistances. Everything you need early on. Go for Unwavering Crusade next. Huge damage and another speed boost. For the last 2 Ascendancy nodes, there are 3 different options. I went Harmony of Purpose third. It grants not only you but also your minions all charges in most mapping and also bossing situations. I am aware of the fact that you can use Spectres to generate charges, but with this node the uptime is a lot better. Time of Need was my 4th choice. This is strong especially if you don't have a lot of regen on your gear yet. Instead of Harmony of Purpose or Time of Need, you can also go for Bastion of Hope. That's another huge defense boost for both you and your minions. Let's go over the gear now. The best choices as weapons are cold iron point daggers. Most of your skills are physical spell skills, so the damage you gain from these weapons is huge. The price should also be around just 10 chaos each in the league start. Since your Herald of Purity, when supported with a lot of gems, will reserve a lot of mana, you have to lower this amount. This can be done with the combination of 3 item slots: Circle of Guild Rings with the Mana Reservation mod or an enchanted helmet. I suggest you go for at least 65% combined reduced mana reservation if you have an Enlighten level 4. More is always better, since sometimes you won't be able to use an ability if your non-reserved mana pool is too low, especially without a high level Enlighten. I had 66% and it was barely enough. What you also want to focus on is the Sentinels of Purity deal increased damage mod on both rings. This is where a large portion of your damage comes from. There's one rare item that's quite important and specific: the helmet. You really want socketed gems are supported by minion life and +2 level of socketed minion gems. The Spectre gem will be socketed into the helmet and you want to try to get it to a total level of 25. The other rare gear is easy. Your first priority should be to reach the resistance cap on every elemental resistance, as well as getting all base stats like dexterity to the necessary amount. After that, get as much life and life regen as possible. Most strong regen rolls come from influenced items, so this can get quite expensive. Don't forget to get movement speed on your boots. Also, if you can, get armor and chaos resistance as well. Armor is the secondary defense after life in this build. As I said earlier, there are no really strong damage mods on your rare gear except for an amulet with +1 or even +2 to strength or physical skill gems. Since you can get a lot of life percent on the tree and some gear, I went for Abyss Jewels over regular jewels. The best stats on your jewels are life regen while moving, or minion damage mods, depending if you want offense or defense. I also went for an anatomical knowledge between the Witch and Templar starter area. If you're using Vigilance Strike, you might also want to consider taking the Vigil to grant Fortify to the whole group. Let's go over the flasks. An instant life flask is never a bad idea. And since there are no real offensive flasks to choose from, just go full utility and defense. A quartz flask for phasing and dodge, a quicksilver to move around quickly, a basalt for physical damage reduction, and a Rumi's concoction for armor and block. If you can't afford a Rumi's, go for a regular granite flask. Also get curse, freeze and bleed immunity on your magic flasks. Those are some example anointments I suggest. Not many offensive, but a lot of defensive ones. Feel free to use any other anointment depending on your needs. Let's go over all the skills now. Your main damage is Herald of Purity, and to be precise, the Sentinels of Purity, which are the minions that spawn when you are affected by the Herald. If you are mapping, take Melee Splash instead of Multi-Strike and Feeding Frenzy instead of Death Mark. I also tried putting in minion speed instead of minion damage while mapping, but I couldn't feel any big difference, so try it out if you want to. In one of the weapons is the 3-link Pride, Dread Banner, Enlightened. If you have a lot of reduced mana reservation for your Herald, then you won't need the Enlightened to be high level, or you won't need it at all. In the other weapon, you want to link a Molten Shell with cast when damage taken, and in the third, non-linked socket, Flame Dash. Within your boots or gloves, link Unearth with Unleash, Controlled Destruction and Brutality. Unearth is a projectile spell that deals okayish damage and leaves corpses on the ground. You use it for killing weak enemies to spawn your Sentinels. You could try any other physical spell skill here, like Bladefall or Blade Vortex, but Unearth allows this build to spawn corpses without having to use Desecrate during boss encounters. Also in your boots or gloves, depending on where you put your Unearth, is a utility setup. Flash Offering consumes corpses to grant a strong speed buff to your minions, and Stormbrand hits quite fast without having to recast it that often to spawn Sentinel against bosses and generate charges. Link these two with increased duration. The last socket in here is the Vigilance Strike that grants you the Fortify buff. If you do not want to use that, then also link this socket to the others and put in a faster casting support. In your helmet is your Animate Guardian and Spectre setup. Link them with Blood Magic. Now, depending on if your helmet has the mod Socketed Gems are supported by level minion life, you want to link Empower or Minion life support. I highly recommend getting a helmet with both the minion life support and +2 level of Socketed Gems to get a total level of 25 on your Spectre gem, but this is by no means required. The level 25 will allow you to have 4 active Spectres. To reach that level, you want any combination. For example, a level 21 gem, +2 from the helmet and +2 from an Empower level 3. Or, as I have it, a level 20 gem, +2 from the helmet and +3 from an Empower level 4. How you get those levels doesn't matter too much. Just keep in mind that if the levels come from the Empower or the helmet, your Animate Guardian will also be affected. Talking about the Animated Guardian, these are the items I equipped with. There are stronger and much more expensive options, but this is the budget version, which in my opinion is good enough. You want items with % maximum life instead of flat life, because the Animate Guardian has like 40,000 base life, so 10% are much more than just 100 flat. Dying Breath and Laircast are both nice damage auras, while Victarios grant a movement speed bonus. Southbound and Belly of the Beast are nice because of their high percentage life and resistance rolls. If you want to spend a bit more currency, go for the Southbounds or other good resistance gloves with a vulnerability on hit corruption. Another strong chest option would be a rare influenced one with % life regen, and % life as extra energy shield. There are many different combinations of Spectres and everybody will tell you to take different ones. Check the wiki if you would like to know all your options. I went for Frenzy and Power Charges for easier uptime on those strong damage buffs. A Ruins Hellion casts Rallying Cry, which grants increased damage and mana regen for the group, as well as taunting enemies to attack the Hellion. Again, there are hundreds of options, so if you don't like my choice, take a look in the wiki. Earlier, I've been talking about both mapping and bossing setups already. Once again, as a short version. In maps, the focus is on speed and AoE. I recommend using Feeding Frenzy and Melee Splash here. If you feel like your damage is good enough, you can also swap out minion damage for minion speed. Use your Unearth to kill weak enemies and spawn corpses, and your Unearth in combination with Stormbrand against rare and unique enemies to spawn your Herald of Purity Sentinels. Always keep up Flash Offering, by the way. While bossing, change your main link to the setup with Deathmark and Multi-Strike. It is important to keep the Deathmark on the enemy you wanna kill. Use your Unearth and Stormbrand on bosses to spawn your Purity minions, and consume the corpses spawned by Unearth with Flash Offering. If the situation allows it, use Vigilant Strike for the Fortify buff. And now, last, Pantheon. If you have problems with Chaos damage, take Arakali as major and Shakari as minor. Otherwise, I suggest Lunaris as major and Garukan as minor. That's it from me for now. I hope you liked this video guide. If so, leave a like and subscribe for future content. Also, follow my Twitch. Link is in the video description. If you have any questions, I'll gladly try to answer all of them in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. I am Jay, and I'm out.
Don't do anything hasty.
Destroying you is as easy as flicking a pest.
No!
Sana!
Kirak!
How boring and small.
You want the Atlas? Take it. It's yours. But Orith, I will burn to the ground.
Perhaps the suffering of my fellow citizens will finally stir something.
Embrace nothing.
What's this? A real challenge? You've finally caught my attention. Die.
This city is nothing. Fury of the cosmos. Obliteration. Be utterly
The others found strength in their projections. They became reliant on them. I am not so foolish. Die.
Beyond, there is only horror. Watch beauty crumble.
pointless! Rain of stars! Obliteration!
Is life really interesting enough?
Watch guilty crumble! Glorious flames! Be utterly annihilated! Rain of stars!
Do you yet see the futility of your efforts? Die.
I have seen beyond.
Die.
This city is nothing. You are nothing. Fury of the cosmos. Obliteration. Rain of stars.
On the edge of death, my heart races. I am alive.
This world is doomed. Is an illusion. Everlasting fire. Die.
I felt something